It's been 1 year since I loaded this Johnson-Su Bioreactor with ground up palm fronds and palm tree. How much have they broken down? How much have they composted? Let's take a look inside right now. One thing that I did do on this reactor that was smart in hindsight compared to the other reactor was when I folded over the wire on the steel cage on the outside of the reactor, I made the folds on the outside of the mesh. On the other bioreactor, I had these little folded over pieces folded to the inside against the landscape fabric. That was a big mistake because once that material settled and swelled, it put a lot of pressure against these folds and it was extremely hard to get these folds undone. So with the folded over pieces of wire on the outside, it's real easy. There's nothing here to stop me. I just simply unbend and undo. So when you build it, fold it over on the outside, not the inside. Now that we're opened up, we can see how much this is settled. It was filled to the tippy top. Now we're down here, quite a bit of settling. Palm contents, 1 year later. Outside, looks like dried grass, looks like palm, looks like when it went in. When we start to pull this away, what do we have? That's where the real key is. Now ignore all this stuff on top. This is a lot of the worms that I added to the pile. I can see some worms moving around. That's good. There's activity happening in here. Now that we've pulled it back, I can see a lot of worm activity. I see a lot of insect activity happening in here. Looking at the contents, I would probably say they're not done yet. Needs more time. Probably not as much time as the hardwood wood chips, but still some time. Definitely a lot of composting action has taken place. I'm still seeing identifiable pieces of palm, like this outside bark husk of the palm tree. That I would expect to take a longer time to break down, but there's a lot of soil-like material in here. Thoughts on the palm reactor? Moisture concerns solved. After looking at both piles, they're definitely really moist on the inside. The outsides are going to be dry, so don't judge the pile by what you can see visually, because I think that's going to give you a false impression of what it looks like inside. This pile I didn't think was going to be that broken down. When I just looked at the top, that's what I could see. But now getting into it, I see worms, I see soil-like substances. That's good, it's broken down. So moisture was good. Another thing that I was really worried about was the worm population. How is it doing in the pile? When I could dig through the top of the pile, I couldn't see many worms. That's because they were in the moist center of the pile. So they were doing well. So my two major concerns about the pile, worm activity, moisture level, were absolved. Both were good. How did the pile do compared to expectations? Hard to say. I would say going in, I would have thought this would have broken down more. But as the year progressed, I didn't think it was breaking down at all. So compared to my beginning expectations, I think I'm probably a little bit disappointed. Compared to my mid-year ongoing expectations, I'm feeling pretty good about this. The composting process has taken place. And this all goes back to what I said in the previous video. Tough to break down materials just take a long time to break down because they're tough to break down. So if you're going to use wood chips, if you're going to use palm, if you're going to use coarser material, expect it to take a long time to break down. If you want a faster breakdown, use easier to digest carbon, finer pieces of carbon, grass clippings, leaf clippings that have been ground up, manures, and they will break down into compost quicker than something like wood chips or palm. The other thing you have to think about is, what are you going for a final material? In my case, I wanted something that I could use in a potting mix. Well, this isn't of the texture or far enough in the breakdown process to use in a potting mix, so it has to go back in and cook for more time. To do that, I'm actually going to combine the contents of this bioreactor with the wood chip bioreactor. They're both about 2/3 full, and I'm hoping 2/3 plus 2/3 equals 3/3 when I smush stuff down and try and make space in there. And then we'll let that single bioreactor with the mixed ingredients sit for another year, and we'll see what that's like. Some of you out there are saying, damn, we waited a whole year for that, and you did. When you break down hard to break down materials, they simply take a long time to break down, because they're hard to break down. I don't think any of these results reflect badly on the Johnson-Su at all. I really love the Johnson-Su Bioreactor after having several of them over the past year. The thing I like about them most is that they go vertical. You can fit a lot of compost in a small footprint. That makes it easy to contain a lot of material. That makes it easy to keep a lot of material watered and moist. It also holds the material nicely versus a traditional conical pile, which gets sloppy. So overall, I'm very pleased with how these Johnson-Su reactors have operated. Now it's time to get them filled back up. For the reload process, I'm not gonna worry about putting any sort of pipes in. I don't think it's gonna go anaerobic at this stage. There's already a lot of biological activity like worms happening in the pile. I'm assuming they're gonna provide all the aeration that I need, so that'll even give me more room to put stuff in because the pipes aren't taking up space. For those of you who are looking for quicker results, I do have another bioreactor filled with just horse manure. That should break down a lot quicker. We'll take a look at that in the coming weeks or months ahead, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.